In the small village of Obinze, people believed in many things: spirits, blessings, and curses. And unfortunately for Amina, it all started the year her mother died mysteriously during the rainy season. Not long after, a strange sickness spread through the village farms, destroying crops. People began whispering, "Since that girl was born, nothing good has happened," Mama Ika would say loudly whenever women gathered near the village well. Amina heard the whispers. She heard them when she walked to the river. She heard them when she passed the market. She even heard them when children pointed at her and ran away. But Amina never argued. She simply kept working on the small farm her mother left behind, hoping one day the village would see her heart instead of the rumors. Only one person truly saw her: Kofi. Kofi was known in the village as a hardworking young farmer. While others avoided Amina, he greeted her every morning when their paths crossed near the farms. One evening, while Amina struggled to carry a heavy basket of cassava, Kofi walked over. "Let me help you," he said. Amina hesitated. "You shouldn't," she whispered. "People will talk." Kofi smiled. "They already do." That was the beginning. Slowly, their friendship grew. But in a village where gossip spreads faster than wildfire, it didn't take long before Mama Eka noticed. And when she did, she made sure the entire village heard about it, she shouted in the market. Soon the rumors grew darker. Some villagers began blaming Amina whenever something bad happened. A goat went missing. A child fell sick. Even when lightning struck a tree near the chief's compound, people pointed at Amina. Until one night, something happened that would force the village to face the truth. And the truth would change Amina's life forever. The rumors about Amina only grew stronger. Every time something bad happened in the village, someone would whisper her name. One afternoon at the market, Mama Eka stood in the middle of a group of women, shaking her head dramatically. "I warned you people," she said loudly. "That girl is not ordinary. Since she was born, misfortune has followed this village." The women murmured in agreement. Across the market, Amina stood quietly selling cassava. She could hear every word. Her heart ached, but she had grown used to the pain. Suddenly a voice interrupted. "That is enough." The crowd turned. It was Kofi. He stepped forward, anger burning in his eyes. "You blame Amina for everything," he said firmly. "But where is your proof?" Mama Ika scoffed. "Proof?" she replied. "Young man, open your eyes. Ever since she came into this world..." Kofi cut her off. "She didn't bring sickness. She didn't bring storms. You people simply needed someone to blame." The market fell silent. No one had ever spoken against Mama Ika so boldly before. But the silence didn't last long. Soon whispers began again. "Look at him, defending the cursed girl." From that day, people began watching Kofi too. A few weeks later, the rainy season returned. Dark clouds gathered over the village, and a violent storm began. Thunder roared across the sky. That night, a loud scream echoed through the village. "Fire! Fire!" The villagers rushed out of their houses. Flames were rising from the roof of Mama Ika's house. People ran around in panic, but no one dared go inside. Everyone feared the fire would spread. Inside the burning house, Mama Ika's young grandson was trapped. The boy's cries could be heard through the smoke. The villagers froze. Fear held them in place. But suddenly, someone ran past the crowd. It was Amina. Without thinking about the danger, she rushed straight into the burning house. "Amina, stop!" someone shouted. But it was too late. Minutes passed. The fire grew stronger. The villagers held their breath. Then suddenly, a figure emerged from the smoke. It was Amina, and in her arms, she carried the little boy. The crowd gasped. Amina collapsed on the ground, coughing from the smoke. Mama Ika rushed forward and grabbed her grandson, tears streaming down her face. For the first time in years, the village was silent. No whispers, no accusations, just silence. Chief Adawale stepped forward slowly. He looked at the villagers and then at Amina, who was struggling to breathe. Then he spoke words that would echo through the entire village. "Today," he said firmly, "the girl you called a curse saved a life." The crowd lowered their heads in shame. Even Mama Eka could not speak. For the first time since Amina was a child, the village finally saw the truth. She was never a curse. She was the bravest heart among them. And from that day forward, no one ever called Amina a curse again. But what no one knew was that this moment would soon bring an even bigger change to Amina's life. Because Kofi had already made a decision that would shock the entire village. The morning after the fire felt different in the village of Obinze. For years, the villagers had looked at Amina with suspicion. Now, they looked at her with confusion and shame. The same people who once avoided her now whispered different things. "Did you see what she did last night? She ran into the fire without fear. That girl has the heart of a lion." But Amina did not stay to hear their new whispers. She woke up early that morning, packed a small bag, and prepared to leave the village. For years, Obinze had only given her pain. Saving Mama Ika's grandson had not erased the scars in her heart. Ngozi found her near the dusty road that led out of the village. "Where are you going?" Ngozi asked, breathing heavily. Amina looked at the horizon. "I think it's time I find a place where people see me for who I truly am." Ngozi grabbed her arm, but things are changing. The village is starting to understand. Amina shook her head gently. Sometimes understanding comes too late. Just then, a familiar voice spoke behind them. "Amina, wait." They turned. It was Kofi. He walked toward her slowly, holding something in his hand. The early morning sun shone on his face, and there was determination in his eyes. "I heard you were leaving," he said. Amina looked down. "This village will never truly accept me." Kofi shook his head. "They already have. They're just too proud to admit it." He then turned toward the small crowd of villagers who had quietly gathered nearby. Yes, the entire village had come. Even Mama Eka stood there. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then something unexpected happened. Mama Ika stepped forward. The same woman who had spread rumors about Amina for years now stood before her with tears in her eyes. "My daughter," she said softly. The entire crowd gasped. Mama Eka lowered her head. "I was wrong about you. I poisoned this village with my words. And yet, you still saved my grandson." She wiped her tears. "Forgive an old woman." Amina stood frozen. All her life she had waited to hear those words. Chief Adewale stepped forward next. "Amina," he said, "this village owes you more than an apology. You have shown us courage and kindness when we gave you none." Then Kofi took Amina's hand. "And that is why," he said confidently, "I want everyone here to know something." The villagers leaned closer. Kofi looked directly at the chief. "I want to marry Amina." The crowd erupted in shock. Some villagers gasped. Others smiled. But Chief Adewale simply studied them carefully. Then slowly he smiled. "If she agrees," the chief said, "it would be an honor for this village." Kofi turned back to Amina. "I don't care what people said about you yesterday," he told her softly. "I only care about the woman I see today." The entire village waited. Amina looked around. For the first time, the faces around her were not filled with fear or suspicion. They were filled with respect. She looked back at Kofi. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Then she nodded. Yes. Cheers erupted through the village. The girl once called a curse had become the pride of Obinze. And years later, whenever children asked about the brave woman who saved a life in the fire, the elders would smile and say, "Never judge a person by rumors. The one the village once feared became the woman who saved us all."